Look at the size first, not the venom, not the warning colors, not what happens after the bite, just the size. A greater blue-ringed octopus can be only around 12 centimeters long with its arms extended. Other members of the group are similarly small enough to disappear inside a tide pool, beneath a shell, or between two pieces of coral. Nothing about that body looks built to dominate anything. There are no enormous jaws, no armor, no claws, no 100-pound muscles, no silhouette that makes a swimmer immediately turn around. And yet, hidden inside this tiny animal is a neurotoxin capable of shutting down the signals between nerves and muscles. In severe human envenomation, breathing can fail while the victim may remain conscious. There is no specific antidote. Survival depends largely on keeping the person breathing until the toxin's effects wear off. That animal is the blue-ringed octopus. And the terrifying part is not that nature made something this small dangerous. The terrifying part is how efficiently it did it, because evolution had a problem. An octopus this small should be vulnerable to almost everything around it. Fish can eat it. Larger octopuses can attack it. Predators can pull it from a crevice. And unlike a crab, it has no hard external shell protecting its body. It is essentially soft muscle wrapped around vital organs. So if you designed this animal using the obvious rules of survival, you might give it armor. Evolution chose something much stranger. It turned weakness into a delivery system. And to understand how, you have to follow the blue-ringed octopus through several layers of defense, because the bite is actually the last part of the story. The first weapon is making sure you never notice the animal at all. Blue-ringed octopuses occur across parts of the Indian and Pacific Oceans, living around coral reefs, rocky seafloors, tide pools, seagrass, and similar shallow habitats. Many are nocturnal and spend much of their time hidden inside cracks and crevices before emerging to hunt crustaceans and small prey. And that matters, because this is not a monster waiting in some trench 6 kilometers below the ocean. It can live in shallow water, in places where people walk, where divers put their hands, where someone might move a shell or reach between rocks without realizing that something is already watching from inside. Most dangerous animals advertise themselves with size. The blue-ringed octopus does almost the opposite. At rest, its colors can remain subdued enough to blend into its surroundings. Its body can squeeze into tiny spaces. Its arms can fold against irregular surfaces. And because octopuses have no rigid skeleton running through their limbs, a space that looks empty can contain far more animal than you expect. That is defense number 1. Don't be seen. But camouflage has a weakness. Eventually something gets too close. And that is when the second system activates. The blue rings appear, not slowly, not like ordinary pigmentation painted permanently onto an animal. The display can intensify when the octopus is disturbed, producing brilliant iridescent blue markings against a contrasting body. Scientists describe this type of warning coloration as aposematism, a visual signal telling predators that attacking this animal is a very bad trade. The display involves specialized pigment and light-reflecting structures in the skin rather than true bioluminescence. And think about how strange that is. Most camouflage exists to erase an animal. Warning coloration does the exact opposite. 1 second, the strategy is, do not notice me. Then the instant concealment fails, the message changes to look directly at me. Remember, these colors do not touch me. It is a biological emergency sign, but those rings would mean nothing if the threat behind them were fake. It isn't. Behind the warning display is Tetrodotoxin, TTX, a molecule famous for appearing in several highly toxic marine animals, including pufferfish. Its target is brutally fundamental. Your muscles move because nerves send electrical instructions through your body. Move the hand, close the jaw, blink the eye, contract the diaphragm, breathe. Tetrodotoxin interferes with that communication by blocking voltage-gated sodium channels that nerve and muscle cells depend on for electrical signaling. The brain may still be issuing instructions. The muscles simply stop receiving them properly. That distinction is what makes severe poisoning so disturbing. This is not primarily a weapon that destroys tissue. It attacks communication. The hardware can remain present while the signal disappears. Imagine pressing the brake pedal in a car and discovering that the pedal still moves, but the connection to the brakes has been severed. Now, Replace the brakes with every voluntary muscle in your body, hands, legs, face, speech, and eventually the muscles required to breathe. Medical reports of severe blue-ringed octopus envenomation describe progressive weakness and potentially life-threatening respiratory failure. Historical cases also show that people can recover completely when breathing is supported, long enough for the toxin's effects to pass. And this produces the central paradox of the animal. The blue-ringed octopus does not need to overpower something with strength. It only needs chemistry to disconnect strength from control. A predator could be hundreds of times heavier. It could possess stronger muscles, larger jaws, a faster body. None of those advantages matter if the nervous system can no longer command the muscles. That is why comparing animals only by body size misses the point. Evolution does not always build a bigger weapon. Sometimes it finds a more important target, and the blue-ringed octopus attacks the operating system. But now another question appears. Why would an octopus need such extraordinary chemistry when it is mostly hunting small crustaceans? Because the venom appears to solve two problems at once: food and survival. Like other octopuses, blue-ringed octopuses use venom while capturing prey. Their diet includes crustaceans and sometimes small fish. A struggling crab is dangerous to a soft-bodied predator. Claws can tear tissue. Escape wastes energy. A rapid, immobilizing chemical attack makes the entire hunt safer and more efficient. One system, two functions. Catch what you eat, punish what tries to eat you. That is evolutionary efficiency. And the more closely you examine this animal, the more of that efficiency appears. Consider the beak. An octopus does not have teeth arranged in jaws like a shark. At the center of its arms is a hard beak capable of biting into prey. The blue-ringed octopus can use that bite to deliver venom from its salivary system, and unlike the attack of a large predator, the bite may be surprisingly difficult to notice immediately. The Natural History Museum describes blue-ringed octopus bites as near painless. That changes the psychology of the encounter completely. If a crocodile bites you, there is no mystery about what happened. If a shark strikes, the injury itself is unmistakable. With this animal, the dangerous event can be physically tiny compared with what follows. Small puncture, small animal. Enormous biochemical consequence. This is where its reputation can become misleading, though. Blue-ringed octopuses are not miniature assassins searching for human beings. Reported bites are uncommon, and only a handful of fatal human encounters are documented. The warning display exists precisely because avoiding a fight is usually better than fighting one. That actually makes the animal more interesting. Venom is expensive biology. Risking injury is expensive biology. Fighting something thousands of times your size makes no evolutionary sense if you can simply convince it to leave. So the sequence is beautifully economical. Hide. If hiding fails, warn. If warning fails and the animal is handled or attacked, bite. 3 levels of defense, each one more expensive than the last, and each one activated only when the previous level stops working. That is not random aggression, it is resource management. Now, look again at the blue rings, because they may be the most misunderstood part of the entire animal. They are sometimes described as if the octopus suddenly turns on dozens of tiny blue lights. But these are not lamps, they are optical structures. Specialized skin cells manipulate pigments and reflected light to create the intense appearance of those rings. Researchers studying the display have documented roughly dozens of iridescent rings that become conspicuous when the animal is disturbed. That means the animal's most recognizable feature is essentially a visual interface. Its body is communicating information. Blue means the negotiation is almost over. Imagine being a reef fish that has learned this signal over generations. You approach something that looks edible. The camouflage collapses. Electric blue. Circles suddenly erupt across the animal. Individuals that ignore that signal are more likely to suffer the consequences. Individuals that retreat survive to remember it. Over evolutionary time, color becomes language, and venom gives the language credibility. But there is an even stranger layer to the toxin story. Tetrodotoxin is not exclusive to blue-ringed octopuses. It appears across animals that are separated by enormous evolutionary distances, including pufferfish, some amphibians, and other marine organisms. Researchers have investigated bacterial involvement in the origin of TTX, and studies of blue-ringed octopuses have found toxin distributed through their bodies and concentrated in venom-associated tissues. So the octopus is not merely carrying a chemical weapon. It exists inside an ecological relationship with one of the most potent neurotoxins found in nature, and females can even provision toxin to their offspring. Research has detected TTX in juvenile blue-ringed octopuses and found relationships between toxin levels in mothers and offspring. The defense can begin before the animal has had time to become an experienced hunter. It can enter life already chemically protected. Now the entire strategy becomes visible: small body, minimal armor, flexible camouflage, warning display, hard beak, paralyzing chemistry, toxin-equipped offspring. Nothing about this animal is individually enormous. That is exactly the point. The blue-ringed octopus is what happens when evolution optimizes for efficiency instead of spectacle. A great white shark announces danger from across the water. A saltwater crocodile is built like a biological tank. A venomous snake carries visible fangs. The blue-ringed octopus can fit into spaces you would barely notice. Its greatest weapon weighs almost nothing. Chemistry does the heavy lifting, and that may be the most important lesson this animal teaches us about dangerous wildlife. Size is only one way to become powerful. Strength is only one way. Speed is only one way. Evolution does not care which solution looks impressive. It cares which solution works. For the blue-ringed octopus, the winning strategy was not becoming larger than its predators. It was making size irrelevant. That is why its bright rings are so extraordinary. They are not decoration. They are the visible surface of an invisible weapon system. When those blue circles appear, the octopus is effectively revealing something you cannot otherwise see: the chemistry inside it. And there is an irony here. Humans instinctively fear animals that look monstrous. Rows of teeth, black eyes, huge claws, massive bodies emerging from dark water. But this animal can be beautiful, small, colorful, almost delicate. Exactly the sort of creature someone might want to pick up for a photograph. And that mismatch between appearance and capability may be its most dangerous feature of all. Because the ocean's warning is already visible. We are simply trained to interpret beauty as safety. The blue-ringed octopus proves that nature never agreed to that rule. Its colors become brightest when it wants you to understand the opposite. Stay away. Not because it is hunting you, not because it is stronger than you, but because millions of years of evolution have given something small enough to hide beneath a shell the ability to interfere with one of the most fundamental systems keeping a much larger animal alive. A signal no bigger than a ring. A bite you may barely feel. A molecule too small to see. And suddenly size means nothing. Somewhere tonight, across a shallow reef in the Indo-Pacific, one of these animals will leave its crevice and begin hunting. No roar, no chase across open water, no enormous silhouette, just 8 small arms moving across the rocks. A crab gets too close. The octopus closes the distance. The chemistry takes over. And by morning, the predator that looks least like a monster will disappear back into a crack in the reef until something ignores the blue rings again.